Hi everyone, thanks for watching. So in today's video, I'm going to share something with you that I think pretty much every one of you will be interested in, especially if you're a drone hobbyist. And also, you should be aware of it. I've been working on this topic for a while now, and it has to do with the future of the hobby of drone flying as we know it. Now, at the risk of sounding alarmist, I'm going to tell you that if we don't collectively do something about it very soon, we could lose this hobby that we all love. Hey, first of all, thanks for stopping by the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Russ, and this is 51 Drones. Consider clicking on that subscribe button and also click on that little gray notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. So my purpose of doing this video is kind of threefold. First of all, I simply want to bring awareness to you guys that this is going on. Most drone hobbyists aren't aware that the hobby is basically under attack. And I don't mean that just to be dramatic. It truly is going to change as we know it, especially if we don't do something about it soon. Secondly, I want to show you guys the money trail. This pretty much has everything to do with money. It's not just about safety and security, although that's what they will claim. And finally, I'm going to tell you guys how you and I can work together to help prevent the destruction of the drone hobby industry as we know it. So in mid-July, a YouTuber by the name of ExJets put out a very informative and very well done video about this very topic. Now, he's a longtime RC plane hobbyist and he lives in New Zealand, but apparently he keeps tabs on what's going on in the United States. But he analyzed the recent proceedings that occurred between two groups. The proceedings have to do with the abolishment of Section 336. Now, if you don't know what Section 336 is, very simply put, it governs drones being flown by a hobbyist. Most of you watching this right now fall under that category. On one side of the table at this meeting, there was representatives from the FAA, from the Department of Defense, the Aerospace Industries Association, the Consumer Technology Association, and the most important one of all is the CDA, or the Commercial Drone Alliance. And then on the other side of the table was the Aviation Subcommittee from the House of Representatives, and the most notable of these members being Peter DeFazio from Oregon. Now we're going to talk about him in just a minute. But long story short, this meeting was called a round table, but the fact is it really wasn't. It was more of a lateral table with only one side being able to state their case. And the other side, the most important side, we the people, were not represented here. Now, if you want to learn more about what went on at that meeting, I suggest you watch ExJets' video. I'll put it up here in the note cards as well as down in the description. It's a little bit alarmist and kind of over dramatic, but he actually brings up some very important points. And his video actually helped me further research this topic. So like I said, I've been working on this for about a month, maybe a month and a half now. And there's two people that I want to introduce you to in just a second. First of all, let's look at the CDA, or also known as the Commercial Drone Alliance. Simply stated, this is a group of drone-related companies that have a vested interest in the use of commercial drones. They have a board of directors, which includes the companies of Project X-Wing, which is Google's drone division, Griffin Sensors, which is a military contractor that deals in radars and sensors and things like that, Cyb-Aero, which is a Swedish company that produces unmanned helicopters, and which also, by the way, recently filed for bankruptcy. So I'm not even sure why they're on that board or even if they're still on that board. And then finally, SkySafe, which helps develop drone mitigation technology. They develop drone jammers. The CDA has two executive directors. Now, one of these directors is named Lisa Ellman. Remember her name, you guys. She is the Lex Luthor to all drone hobbyists. She's extremely intelligent, connected, she's very experienced and powerful. Bear with me just a second. Let's take a look at her resume. Now, as you can see, she tends to lean pretty far to the left. Her entire career has been about big government, oversight, and regulation. Now, she's currently a partner at the law firm Hogan & Lovells, which is the 11th largest law firm in the world, with gross revenues of over $2 billion last year. And what's their specialty? It's government regulatory issues. They're one of the largest lobbyist firms in the United States. So let's take a quick look at who they have represented in the past. Let's see. Google, check. Amazon, check. Fox Entertainment, check. CNN, check. Interesting, right? Also, who did Hogan & Lovells just hire? They hired a woman by the name of Laura Ponto. Now, she was the former head of public policy and regulatory affairs at Google X's Project Wing, their drone division. So what makes the world go around, you guys? It's money. Lisa Ellman gets things done, and she's building, or she actually has kind of built, her commercial drone all-star team. They have unlimited resources, and the companies they represent do not pay people to fail. They win. And right now, they have no competition because we haven't even been invited to the game. Now, do I blame Miss Ellman? No, not at all. I actually respect her because she is the ultimate adversary, and she deserves respect. She's doing what she was hired to do, and that's win, and she's very good at it. Now, the other person I want to take a look at here is Congressman Peter DeFazio. He's actually on the aviation subcommittee. He's been the most outspoken member of Congress when it comes to regulating drones of all kinds. Now, for him, it's not about money. Well, he is a politician, so probably it's about money, but it's also about safety, mostly for him. He has called us, drone hobbyists, idiots. He wants geofencing for every drone sold, and he wants remote detection and ID for all UAS, like yesterday. And he also has stated that, quote, the rights of the toy drone operators shouldn't be a concern. Do you know what should be a concern, Mr. Congressman? That a member of our legislative branch would actually say the rights of someone should not be a concern. Now, the FAA really should be careful in what they're asking for, because if Section 336 is repealed, imagine the behemoth of a strain that would be added to the already stressed FAA UAS division. They have demonstrated that they can't even handle the current backlog of waiver requests, taking sometimes months to approve. Now, imagine adding another 1 million drones to police. Come on. It would be an excessive overreach of regulation, and I really don't think the FAA is ready for it. The biggest thing to note here is that it's not the FAA that started this whole thing. What started this imprudent process is a collective of organizations that have the tremendous potential to benefit financially from the freedom to launch their commercial drone activities, also known as the Commercial Drone Alliance. The bottom line, you guys, the Commercial Drone Alliance, or CDA, are not our friends as hobbyists. Hobby drones are a burden to them, and Section 336 is the only thing that's preventing them from making billions of dollars. If this group gets what they are asking for from our legislators, it will basically be the end of the hobby as we know it. Now, is this a little bit alarmist? Maybe, but it's a fact. These are juggernaut organizations that have powerful lobbyists behind them, and the only thing that can stop them, or at least bring reasonable legislation, is us, the hobbyists, acting as our own collective to make sure that our representatives know that we will not go silently into the night. So why is this happening right now? Well, it's actually been going on for quite a while, but it's recently come to the forefront because the FAA has been writing some policy that calls for all drones to have remote identifiers on them. Now, the CDA has jumped at this window to move their agenda because the timing fits. If Section 336 is repealed, it frees up the FAA to regulate however they want to, with the expectation that they would require every drone pilot to be licensed as well as every drone to have a remote identifier. Now, on a side note, and this is pure speculation on my part, but could that be part of the reason that DJI delayed the release of the Mavic 2 series? You know, were they working with our very own FAA to install remote ID tech on the new Mavic 2? Not likely, but it is possible. And I guess we'll see here in just a few days. Anyway, if the FAA can regulate all of us, it allows the commercial drone industry to set up commercial drone highways that would take precedence over hobby flights. Very intrusive and highly regulated highways. Where you can fly right now, like say in Class G airspace with no authorization or worry, would more than likely become restricted airspace. And if you fly there and your drone as well as your controller has remote ID on it, the FAA could presumably drive right up to you in a big black SUV and take you off to prison. Now, it's a little bit Orwellian, but it is possible and worth considering. So what are my suggestions for this issue at this time? First of all, the easiest one. Give the hobbyists a seat at the table. Someone who can represent millions of us. Now, is that the AMA? I don't know, but they are the biggest right now and they have the most notoriety. As I understand, the AMA has been present at some of these meetings and they have been a voice in this process. But part of my hesitation with that is that in the past, the AMA haven't been real big fans of drones. You know, they are mostly fixed wing RC type pilots. and drones kind of were the outsiders for them. So I'm not really sure if they were in our corner, at least in the past. But now, as the possibility of Section 336 being repealed, they need us. They need drone hobbyists to be on board. And so I think they really are a voice for us right now. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and I think the AMA really does have our best interests in mind. My second suggestion is to require membership rather than just compliance with a community-based organization, or CBO, such as the AMA, for instance. Or maybe the FAA could establish like 2 or 3 CBOs that would qualify. We could pay our dues to be members in these organizations, and then that money is used to help advocate for us, the largest stakeholders in this game. The people of these CBOs could make the laws, and the FAA could keep an eye on the CBOs. Then that organization governs each good standing member. And if you mess up and you're not in good standing, you're kicked out of the club. Just leave the government out of it. My third suggestion, and maybe a little bit controversial, but commercial drones, I think, in order to be considered commercial, could have transponders on them just like manned aircraft and be governed just like manned aircraft. Now, why would I suggest transponders for commercial but not consumer UASs? Well, because they're commercial. They should be governed differently. It's just like comparing our minivan on the highway to the cargo train on the train tracks. It's 2 different modes of transportation, and they're regulated in much different ways. I don't know, you may not agree with me, but I think it just makes sense. Lastly, I think we could designate another class of drones. Does it really make sense to put the Mavic Air in the same class as the Matrice 600? Personally, I don't think so. So there could be a smaller class of drones that would still have to follow the rules of a CBO, but not be required to have a remote ID or transponders. Now again, that may not work, but it certainly seems reasonable to me. So what can you and I do? What can we do right now? It's very simple, you guys. Just contact your congressmen and your senators and let them know how you feel. Down in the description, I have a very basic letter that you guys can copy and then paste in an email to your representative. Feel free to edit it however you like to give it more impact, but also keep in mind you should keep it as simple as possible. Legislators don't read long emails, but they do keep track of yes and no votes, and they consider them when they vote. So if you tell them do not repeal Section 336, they will add that to their tally and consider it when they vote. Also in the description, I have links to everything that I showed you in this video. I suggest that you take a moment to check them out yourselves so you're well informed. Information is powerful, you guys, and that's why I'm doing this video. We need to represent ourselves, guys, and the only way to do that is through the legislative process. I put links down in the description for contact info on how to reach your particular elected official. Also, I'm hoping that some of my fellow drone content creators will make similar videos as this. People who have much more influence and reach than I do. People like Kelly and Ken and Rick, Ed and Billy, Dustin, Aldrin, Henrik, Tom, and many others. We need to make our own all-star team and show up to the game. Otherwise, it's a big loss for the entire industry. Now, after everything I just said, I have to say that I really think there does need to be some changes. It would be nice to assume that everyone who flies a drone is sensible, but that's just not realistic. Whatever changes may come, however, I just hope there is a fair and balanced discussion, and that it leads ultimately to safer skies, as well as preserving the hobby as we know it. Once again, a big thank you to ExJet for putting out a very informative video. Remember to subscribe and also hit that thumbs up button if I gave you anything of value today. I will keep up on this subject and I'll let you guys know of any significant developments should they occur. Until then, get those emails out, you guys, and fly safe and fly smart.